What if the next major breakthrough in the SUV world does not come from a roaring V8, a futuristic concept car, or some ultra-exclusive luxury brand, but from a machine that barely makes a sound at all? Because what Tesla appears to be preparing with the new 2027 Model X Plaid feels far bigger than a routine redesign or another high-performance electric SUV entering an already crowded market. This feels like the moment the definition of performance luxury itself begins to change. Welcome back to Future of Automotive, where we look beyond the polished reveal videos and dramatic marketing claims to understand what a vehicle actually represents in the larger evolution of automotive culture. And trust me, this new Model X Plaid may quietly be one of the most important SUVs Tesla has ever created. Because beneath the sharper design, the redesigned cabin atmosphere, and the increasingly intelligent technology ecosystem, sits something much more fascinating. This SUV does not feel like it was built simply to compete. It feels like it was designed to reset expectations entirely. The first thing that immediately changes your perception is the stance. Older electric SUVs often struggled to balance futuristic styling with emotional road presence. Some looked too soft. Others tried too hard to appear aggressive. But the new Model X Plaid feels more resolved, more mature, more intentional. The body sits lower and wider, with proportions that instantly communicate confidence before the vehicle even moves. The front fascia now looks cleaner and more sculpted, almost as if Tesla finally realized that simplicity can feel more powerful than visual noise. Thin adaptive LED lighting stretches across the front with a razor-sharp technical signature that gives the SUV an unmistakably futuristic identity at night. And unlike many modern luxury SUVs that overload the design with unnecessary creases and oversized fake vents, this feels controlled, restrained, intelligent. The aerodynamics are clearly doing more than improving efficiency. They shape the emotional identity of the entire vehicle. You can almost sense how the airflow moves across the body just by looking at it. The roofline tapers more naturally now, the rear shoulders feel stronger, and the stance has that rare ability to look athletic without appearing desperate for attention. But this is where things become even more interesting, because the design is not trying to imitate traditional performance SUVs anymore. Tesla seems to understand that the future of performance will not look like the past. It will feel cleaner, quieter, smarter, and more emotionally seamless. And the Model X Plaid embraces that philosophy completely. The wheels alone tell part of that story. Large, turbine-inspired designs with dark metallic finishes sit perfectly within the arches, giving the SUV a planted, almost magnetic presence on the road. At night, with the reflections of city lights moving across the glass and bodywork, the entire vehicle begins to feel less like transportation and more like a moving piece of future architecture. And yet, the exterior is only half of the transformation, because the real shift happens once you step inside. This is where Tesla appears determined to separate itself from traditional luxury manufacturers once again. Most premium SUVs still approach interiors like digital versions of old luxury cabins. Large screens, ambient lighting, premium leather. But the new Model X Plaid feels like Tesla is chasing something much more immersive. The cabin now feels calmer, more intelligent, more emotionally adaptive. Instead of overwhelming the driver with visual complexity, everything feels intentionally simplified in a way that actually increases the sense of sophistication. The dashboard appears almost architectural in its layout, with seamless integrated displays, hidden lighting elements, and a panoramic glass atmosphere that makes the cabin feel incredibly open without losing intimacy. And that matters more than ever, because luxury buyers today are no longer impressed by technology alone. They want technology that disappears into the experience naturally. The giant central display no longer feels like a gimmick. It feels like the nervous system of the vehicle itself. Faster response times, cleaner graphics, predictive AI behavior, and personalized driver profiles create an ownership experience that feels increasingly aware of the individual behind the wheel. Imagine a vehicle that already understands your driving mood before you touch the accelerator. A system that quietly adjusts suspension stiffness, steering weight, seat positioning, cabin lighting, navigation preferences, and climate atmosphere based on your daily patterns. Not because you manually programmed it every time, but because the vehicle has gradually learned how you live. That is where Tesla still feels years ahead in terms of automotive philosophy. The technology is not presented as features anymore. It becomes behavioral integration. And this is where the new Model X Plaid begins to feel less like an SUV and more like an intelligent mobility ecosystem wrapped inside a luxury performance machine. The ambient environment inside the cabin reinforces that feeling constantly. Soft indirect lighting flows across layered materials with a subtle futuristic warmth that feels more upscale than clinical. The seats appear more sculpted and supportive now, with cleaner stitching patterns, improved ergonomics, and a stronger sense of performance-oriented luxury. Even the silence inside the cabin becomes part of the emotional experience. Without the constant mechanical noise of traditional combustion SUVs, every detail suddenly matters more. The texture of the materials, the quality of the sound system, the subtle hum of acceleration, the feeling of floating through the city at night while surrounded by glass, light, and intelligent software. And then there is the performance itself, which may ultimately be the most shocking part of this entire vehicle, because the terrifying thing about the new Model X Plaid is not simply how fast it is. It is how effortlessly fast it feels. Traditional performance SUVs often announce their aggression loudly, massive exhaust notes, dramatic gear shifts, constant vibration. But Tesla approaches speed differently. The acceleration feels immediate, almost surreal, as if the vehicle simply bends distance itself the moment you touch the throttle. There is no build-up, no waiting, just instant controlled force delivered with astonishing smoothness, and that changes the emotional psychology of driving completely. The new Plaid setup feels less interested in intimidating the driver and more interested in empowering them. The power delivery appears smarter now, more refined, more confidence-oriented, rather than purely shocking. Whether navigating dense urban traffic or opening up on an empty highway at night, the SUV seems designed to shrink around the driver emotionally. Large outside, precise inside. That balance is incredibly difficult to engineer. And this is where Tesla's deeper philosophy begins revealing itself. The future of high performance may no longer be about mechanical drama alone. It may be about intelligent responsiveness, predictive handling, effortless control, and emotional fluidity. The suspension system appears significantly more adaptive now, with faster, real-time adjustments that constantly reshape the character of the vehicle depending on road conditions and driver behavior. One moment the Model X Plaid feels composed and luxurious enough for long-distance executive travel, and the next it tightens itself with remarkable precision through sweeping corners and high-speed transitions. That dual personality matters because modern buyers no longer want separate vehicles for different emotional experiences. They want one machine capable of becoming multiple things, depending on the moment. And Tesla seems to understand that better than most manufacturers right now. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the new Model X Plaid is what it represents culturally, because this SUV feels like the point where electric performance finally stops trying to prove itself. Earlier EVs constantly carried an underlying need for validation, faster than gasoline, smarter than traditional cars, more efficient than combustion engines. But the new Model X Plaid does not feel defensive anymore. It feels confident, mature, certain of its direction. And that confidence completely changes the atmosphere surrounding the vehicle. Even the advanced autonomous systems appear less intrusive now. Tesla's evolving driver assistance technology feels increasingly natural, almost invisible during normal driving. Highway cruising becomes calmer, parking becomes effortless, traffic fatigue begins disappearing. The vehicle quietly handles complexity without constantly reminding you that software is operating underneath the experience. And that subtlety may actually become one of the biggest luxury indicators of the future. Not flashy technology, seamless technology, the kind that simply integrates into life naturally. Because that is what future buyers increasingly care about. They do not just want transportation, they want emotional convenience, mental simplicity, intelligent comfort, and this is exactly where the 2027 Model X Plaid feels perfectly positioned. It understands that luxury is evolving away from excess and toward frictionless living. But the deeper question may actually be who this SUV is really for. And honestly, This feels aimed at a very specific type of buyer. Someone who still loves performance, still appreciates beautiful design, still wants emotional excitement, but no longer feels connected to old-school automotive traditions. This is for people who want speed without chaos, luxury without unnecessary complexity, technology without feeling disconnected from the driving experience itself. It feels designed for drivers who view the future optimistically and want a vehicle that reflects that mindset every single day. Business owners, tech entrepreneurs, families who want practicality without sacrificing emotional presence, drivers who want one vehicle capable of handling city life, long-distance travel, performance excitement, and intelligent daily convenience simultaneously. And that may be why this new Model X Plaid matters so much. Because it does not simply improve the electric SUV formula. It quietly reframes what modern automotive aspiration looks like. This is no longer about replacing gasoline. It is about redefining emotional luxury for an entirely new era of mobility. And if Tesla executes this vision correctly, then the 2027 Model X Plaid may eventually be remembered as far more than just another high-performance EV. It could become the moment luxury SUVs fully embraced intelligence as their primary identity. Not just speed, not just design, but seamless, intelligent, emotional experience. That is what makes this vehicle fascinating. It feels like a bridge between today's automotive world and something much bigger waiting just ahead. And honestly, that future suddenly feels a lot closer than most people realize. So the real question is not whether the new Model X Plaid will be fast enough or luxurious enough. The real question is whether the rest of the SUV industry is actually prepared for what Tesla appears ready to normalize next. Because one way or another, this does not feel like the future is approaching anymore. It feels like the future has already arrived.